Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Tuesday. It's February 14th. This will be our chart lesson for today. And I'm trying to get out of here early today, and I've already done this recording once, and for some reason, once again, no audio. At least I caught it today. So the first video was like 28 minutes, so this was probably going to be more like 10 because I'm just going to run through these trades quickly, and I apologize. But it is Valentine's Day. I need to get out of here on a decent hour today, and my mind is just really pulled in a lot of directions lately. Is the only thing I can say because I don't know how I didn't get any volume, but I didn't. So I don't know if I didn't have the headphones turned on or what I did, but anyway, you can see it was a range day, and if we look at the daily chart, it looks like topping action, but it looks like another range. It looks like uh, a range day on the daily chart as well. Let's just look at that real quick. And here it is. And you can see the neutral bar, the doji type bar with the closing right, almost right slap in the middle, a negative close in the middle. So it's kind of a neutral type day. It's all you can say about it. And it does look like topping action up here. But again, we pushed up into overbought territory today. So we could just be going to kind of work sideways a little bit here till we relieve some of that overbought pressure when we can push higher again. It's just hard to say, but it looks like topping action. I really would have thought we'd get some follow through buying and a close higher today, but it just didn't happen. So anyway, let's flip over to the chart. And again, I'm going to go through these really quickly, and I apologize. There are a lot of trades today, so a lot of green ones too, and so I'm really going to skip by them probably, but let's zoom in here. Again, you have this core CPI. Anything to do with economy lately that's red, you better be careful. And this came out at 7:30, so you had really from 7 to 7:30 if you do like me and start at 7. There was a second entry long there, but I mean this trade triggers at 7:10, a little after 7:10, so you don't have much time before the news comes out. Um, so you might take that trade, and you probably wouldn't have been out till the news came. The news would have got you out, and that's taking a chance. So that's why I say you got to be real careful. I probably would just not taken a trade this morning. Um, and of course it comes out and the market goes haywire, but it settles down around 740, 745, somewhere in there, and you can kind of. But we had that big leg down, then we get a correction, and we take a second leg down. That's a second entry short right there. Way away from the EMA when we're still looking for a retest of this low. So you might take that trade. And then we actually just get some resistance here, and you get a 1, 2, 3 triple test with a big bearish bar. I like that one. We continue to drop on down. We get a close outside a new low, but I just don't see anything else in here you can really trade at this point. And now you've had a break and you get a new low. You've really got a couple of legs down there, and then you try to go short once, twice. You're still way away from the EMA. So if it breaks higher, you're probably going back at least to the EMA. If there's enough room there, maybe you take it. And you can see the measured leg down is almost a perfect measured leg within the tick almost. And then we kind of run into some congestion here, but notice the support, and we test that multiple times. There's really a triple test right here, I would call this, but that signal bar is not very good. Then we get another one and a good signal bar. So maybe you go long there, but when you get a higher low here that breaks lower first and then turns up, definitely, I don't know that I trade that on the engulfing bar. Maybe you do, but it's really just a higher triple test, and I like going long on that one. Then you get what I call, it's basically a reversal here. So this is going to trap shorts, and you can see that it does that. New low, first entry, second entry. However, I mean, you could argue for this to be green almost because it's not a perfect, because it's not much of a leg, but that's clearly a leg and then a pullback and then another clear leg and a pullback. So really, this is where your failure occurs. and you get a nice bar, plenty of room to scalp out. It's a lot better setup. I like going long right there. And this one is more like a high or low with enough room to get out. But you might count it as a reversal too, or a trap. And it is a bit of a trap. You can see how that bar played out when it broke higher. It had a hard time breaking higher, but when it did, it shot up real quick. But that's your true trap right there. And we run up, and we come off the high. You get a break, move to a new low, and you get another second entry long. I marked this one green. It's kind of in no man's land. We just came off the high. We didn't bounce at the midline. We didn't get back to the high here. We didn't get back to the low. We're kind of in no man's land. It's a second entry. This is played out. It's a great signal bar. If you want to be a little aggressive, might be one you do it on. You could get it wrong, but if you get it right, you see what happens. They trapped a lot of shorts trying to ride it back, and that's why I say don't. In a trend, don't try to counter trend trade because you just get burned. And if you catch the low of the correction, you get a ride. I mean, it just runs everybody's stops and they run it back up. Now, I think this is the trend, and this is an overshoot. So this thing spiked up and went into a separate channel. And you can see it got a break here and a couple of legs up, and then it just rolls over it. You never get a retest of the high. It just turns and it's gone to the other side. And so this looked like an overshoot. It was hard to know, but when we didn't get anywhere near the measured move, you know this can't be the midline. And when it's rocketing down, you got to say, hey, that's an overshoot. So there's no doubt in my mind this was an overshoot. This thing had a lot of momentum, and it was just overdone. This was getting up into overbought territory on the daily chart. This was those highs back up in that overbought area, and you can see what happens. It doesn't take long. That's when the selling comes back in. This thing, it struggles and pushes and goes and gets higher, and then the sell-off is always quick and easy. And so, but it keeps going higher, so you can't argue with it, but you got to be careful the same time. So maybe you take that trade, and then you can clearly see there's a spike in channel, and that trend line's clearly in play. So when you get this second entry here, and it's a triple test as well, maybe you take it. It's right off the EMA. So, and this could be, at this point, you still don't know if this is not a midline here. So take that trade. You can't argue with this green channel here, and of course it does run up to a new high, and then it tries to go higher a few times. Don't go short there yet though. Make a lower high. Next thing you know, it's rocketing lower. I did mark this trade with a green because it's right off that key entry point, and it's right where you would expect on a first entry, second entry that it would go higher, and it does. It turns down right off that trend line. You know you got the long strapped. We wouldn't have taken a long here anyway because we know not to enter on an inside bar. This is really your signal bar, so no entry here. And really all prices were doing were coming back to fill that little gap right there. Notice there's no overlap. And they come back and fill it, and then boom, they got them trapped and the bottom falls out. So, and then you actually get a first entry here, and then it breaks higher. It actually is not a first entry, but it's by this time it's obvious this is a really strong trend. And this is a big bearish bar on a lower high right off that key entry point. I'd probably take that. If you get another that comes back, which you do here, that's only like 7 ticks, I'm going to take it too. And finally you get a break, and then you just get 2 legs back. This is a triple test, 1, 2, 3. But there's a hidden second entry there. It's just not a by the count. There's no second entry. But look how bearish that bar is, and look how bearish that whole move is. You're going to make a new low here. So timing is the key. And with a triple test, I'm feeling pretty good that I'm at least going to ride it to here and probably more. And of course you do. Comes back. I didn't mark this one, but it just comes back to the same place again. And you argue that for sure you got a triple test now, but there's no break of this channel coming up. It's just the first close outside. You are a little ways. It's only 8 ticks, so hey, maybe you risk that one too. It's got a little stem on it too, though. I didn't like it. I was scared of it because now you got your break and you're low in place, and this thing could trap you here and keep going. And you can see it's only a few minutes later before it does, and it takes off, and that's when people get trapped. Look at that move. It's not one I think we want to take. It's too sideways, but it's definitely got them trapped there. You can see the new low in a first entry and a second entry, but it's not ideal. This looks just more like sideways than it does a leg to me. Runs up, and then you're just chopping sideways. You get a failed break. Notice you close outside the green channel, you get a new high, and you get a failed break out of this little tiny range or congestion right there. So I like riding that back to the EMA, and maybe you caught a high. It's a pretty good move. There's a lower high here, but it's right back into that support. Just let it go. And we come back and we test it a couple of more times, and then get this big bearish bar. I like going short there. And you don't know that it's going to break out down here, but you figure it's going to probably try to run back down here. But these breakouts are often important places, and even though it only closes outside by a tick or so, it still closes outside and breaks higher. And if you got a really good signal bar off of this trend line again, you might take it, but you don't really get any. You get your close outside, 2 legs down. It's trying to reverse, and notice you get a double top, first entry, second entry. There's you another failure, and look at it go. It trapped people. It only goes to the support, comes back, and look, there's a channel working up, close outside, move to a new high. We've seen this over and over today. Big bearish bar, go short right there. This one's tempting. If it was a little more bullish, I'd call out a triple test and say go long there, but I don't like that bar. Plus the gap, it could just be filling the gap, and then it could turn back down on you. We start working higher. I don't see anything in here that I really like. Too much congestion. But finally, you get a triple test here. You might argue there's one here, but it just looks a little congested. Not much room back to those highs. But when you finally push higher, come down, you get a first entry, you come back down, and so when it breaks higher there, it's a second entry long. And you might even enter that on the engulfing bar, because it's probably got people trapped, but I'd probably wait and go long right there. But you can easily call that a triple test and a second entry long, and you're looking for a retest of the high. And notice you get 2 legs up to a perfect high, just like we did. We've shown this. We see this pattern over and over today. And you get this little 6 tick way away from the EMA on a second entry short after a break and 2 legs up. I'm going to take that one. You didn't get much more in a scalp out of, but it still worked. You get a lower high here that's tempting. Maybe you take that one. But when we don't, even though you're making a lower, notice how you make a lower high each time, but you got that support across there. So I'm not going to take anything down here, and you see it does bounce. No way to get this to get anything on this big ride up here, unfortunately. And of course you get your break and 2 legs up to a new high, and there it is again, big bearish bar way away from the EMA. Take that trade. It's a repeat pattern that we've seen over and over all day, and it works every time. You do get a lower high here. There's not much room back to the midline, but because we're kind of working sideways, you're not as worried about that midline. But that looks congested all the same. Maybe you take it. I think you'd probably just skip that trade. And then we're just kind of chopping along. We do get a breakout here, but no setup. That's your signal bar. It's too bearish. And then we come back up here, and now you got a triple test and another nice bearish bar. It's not too big. It's only 8 ticks. Just go short there. You're looking for a retest of the low here anyway. And now you got a break, move to a new high, and that's worked every time. It's also the failed breakout. It's also a triple test. I still marked it green because it does make a slightly higher high than the last couple of times. So, and that's a lot of momentum. So maybe if you wait on a lower high or something, you get left out here. But if I hadn't seen that repeat pattern all day, you could almost mark it red because of that. But it's definitely green. Make the new low, and then we get a reversal pattern here. If it breaks higher, and you can see this time it it does look pretty good. Comes back here, first entry, second entry when it breaks here, and it actually broke lower first before it triggered the second entry. You might enter that on the engulf, and I'd probably wait for this to close and take that trade and enter one tick above that. Runs up to that new high again, or chopping along sideways, and you get the failed breakout. We've seen it over and over and over. Take it, and you see how easy it worked. You didn't get the big run this time, but people are starting to notice it now, and usually when it's very obvious, it doesn't work as well, but it still works. We do end up pushing lower on that failed breakout. You got a quick trend down, and you actually get a first entry here and then a second entry right here. I don't like that one because it's an inside, because you got 3 bars now, and one of them is going to be the doji. Just sit and wait, and then you get a trap here. Notice the bar, first entry, second entry. If it breaks higher, it's a trap. It's not a reversal. It's more like a continuation, and that takes you into 230. And that one could, I went back and forth about that one. You could argue that and it'd be green, but if you see the trap there, you probably want to take it. And there it is. And I hate I had to go through it so fast without a whole lot more. And there were 2 legs up here too after this first leg, and then we corrected, and then you started your second one. We notice how we got a perfect measured leg before. It ends up going a little higher, but that's kind of where it stalled out. Then it had to back up and create a trap on a failed breakout here before it could go higher again, and it still couldn't get above these last highs. We just found the resistance was real right along here today. We never could get back above. We had a little failed break higher, and you see what happens, it sells off again. So there it is. I'm not going to beat around the bush. I've had to do this twice already, so apologize for speeding through it, but I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com.